Hello, everyone, and welcome to Traveler. I am Bran, your referee, your game master, and to my right I have Curtis, Natalie. Well, maybe I don't know if it's to my right, wherever it is on the screen, and then Justin and Damien. So today we're going to be running Mongoose Traveler Second Edition. There are a variety of Traveler editions out there. This is just my favorite. Today for the game, we're going to just be using 2d6 to roll most of our task checks and things like that. And we have each person here has chosen a character archetype, a pre-gen. So why don't we just do some brief actual introductions? Who wants to go first?
Right, we're introducing our actual selves and not our characters here.
Yes, sorry.
Hi.
If you want to
Oh,
introduce
okay.
yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Natalie Putum. I'm at Natalie_20 on Twitter. I am the co-owner of Charm Person Games, a professional game master service out of Baltimore, Maryland. You can find us on Twitter at Charm Person Game.
Sweet.
My cat is going to be annoying this whole stream.
That's all right. Everyone loves cats. Curtis, you want to take over next?
Yeah, my name is Curtis Takahashi. I've been playing Traveler for a very long time, various editions, um, and I play a scientist in real life. So,
Fair enough. What kind of science do you
oh,
do?
I'm an entomologist.
Okay. No, perfect. That's great. Bugs are
Bugs.
wonderful. Yeah. Justin.
My name's Justin. I'm in Australia. I used to own a gaming
Huh.
store where I sold lots of Traveller, but never played.
Okay. Fair
So,
enough. And Damien.
Hello, my name's Damien. I am just a wandering dude bro who tabletops.
Sounds good. And once more, I am Brandon Bean on Gehenna Gaming. And I am the master storyteller with Gehenna Gaming. I have been game mastering for about 12 years, and I do a lot of writing. Otherwise, here I am today to hopefully give us a nice dive into a system that not everyone's familiar with. Okay, so we are going to dive into a brief setting primer just to give you guys a sense of where we're at. And then what I'd like to do from there is I'd like to talk about your characters, each one of you. So think of either a name or a description, whatever physicality there, and let's try and bring some visualization forward. Okay. Humanity has been in this galaxy for a long time. This galaxy is not the Milky Way. So after many wars of succession and border conflict and all kinds of political squabbling, we are left with the Imperial Stellar Mandate, which claims authority over all human space, albeit it can only enforce authority in the core worlds. We will be in Ryssia system. Ryssia is a system on the periphery of the core. It is forever caught between paradigms. It is, as a result of being a part of the core, it gets all of the funding, all of the protection, all of the status. But because it is a peripheral core system, it is considered a hinterland backwater by the politicians in the capital, and it really only sees stops due to some passing through trade into the outer systems, and otherwise just repair. That said, Ryssia Prime is a very populous world, and as you may have seen on the pre-gen sheets, there is a variety of locales, each character being from a slightly different one. Ryssia Prime, not very creatively, the capital is Ryssia City, over which in geosynchronous orbit is a very large starport space station. There is a space elevator going from the city to the station. Technology in the Imperial Stellar Mandate is quite advanced, but not as advanced as their predecessors. With each war, something seems to become lost, and as a result, we are not exactly sure where we started. So, you all have been accepted, or invited, to join the Imperial Academy for Research and Intelligence. Now, of course, normally when you go to academy, it's when you're young, but it seems like the people going to this academy come from all walks of life, come from all ages, come from all creeds. Some would say that only the elite get into the academy, but it seems that can't possibly be true, as you have seen the lowliest clerk at a store be invited. And it seems that the conditions upon which invitations are offered is uncertain. Nonetheless, you have all been invited from your various walks of life. So, who wants to tell me about their character?
I'll
All
go
right,
first.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
I am the captain. My name is Ronnie Burtson. I started off with a good life, which makes no sense to enroll. But I think it was against the family's wishes or just out of boredom that I enrolled. And once there, I discovered, after fighting my way through it, that people actually listened to what I said and we got stuff done. So I progressed through the ranks and eventually landed myself in a leadership position after doing some ground warfare.
Yeah, so you would have been involved in one of the, most likely one of the uprisings following a war that ended 10 years ago. Out on the periphery, there's still quite a bit of fighting, though Imperial propaganda would say otherwise. Your character would know better.
Okay.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I am playing the pilot, Riley Case. She is a graduate of the Naval Academy. She's a hotshot pilot. She's about like 5'5", but when she walks around with her aviators on and her flight suit, like has a swagger when she's walking down the flight line. She has gotten in trouble and demoted for speaking her mind in the past. She's someone who isn't afraid to say what she thinks. But she now finds herself with an invitation to this academy.
All right. And Curtis, would you like to go
Okay.
next?
I'm the my previous occupation was scientist. I have no idea what we're going to be doing. My name is Paul Arkenwald. I come from Ryssia Prime, from the region of Orland, a city known for its research biotech and biomedical excellence. And I am a product of those particular educational institutions. Rather aloof, not really used to people. Well, used to fighting politically. Let me put it that way. But graduate with honors, and could have gone on in academia. But then I got this invitation to this organization, and figured, well, one never stops learning new things. Let's try this.
All right. And sorry, I kind of missed the last name there. You say Arkenwald?
Arkenwald, yeah.
Arkenwald. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And Damien, have you decided?
Yep.
Perfect. Why don't you give us a little intro to your character?
All right. My name is Dietrich Falcone, and I'm the medic. I grew up on the outer west side of Ryssia City. Was just sort of, curious. Other people became curious about the internal workings of machines. I was more curious about the body. So I did my normal studies, bit better in biology than some of the other ones, and stuck with it. Surprise, surprise, I ended up practicing medicine, rushing around in scrubs, cleaning up biohazards, helping patients get around, the usual.
Okay. And at some point, you would have received an invitation to the academy. When do you think that would have been for your character?
We were desperate, so not too long after I finished the end of my apprenticeship.
Okay, fair enough. So, it's probably been about, well, it's been about a month since you all received your invitation, and the day has arrived that on which you are supposed to depart from Ryssia Prime Starport toward the Imperial Academy space station. Now, something important about this that you would have all heard of. Entrance into the Academy is a social prestige. It's only social prestige in that it's so mysterious. It's almost celebrity-like. But, of course, no one knows you got in until you get out. So there's also an element of mystery there. And further mystery, one that's talked about quite often, is the Alendor Exam. On the way up to the Imperial Academy space station, there is an exam that takes place, but no one knows what it is. And any rumors seem to be dispelled by conflicting rumors, implying that either the test changes every year or that people are really good at hiding the truth. Whatever it is, you're not sure what this exam is, but supposedly no one can fail it. So that's good at least, right? Nonetheless, it may be heavy on your mind, it may not be. Maybe you're just shrugging it off. And as you head up the space elevator on a car with hundreds of other people and heavy equipment um, and supplies heading for the station, what do you think is on your characters' minds right now?
I think Riley is trying to project confidence, even though she really isn't confident. She's trying to act like, in this group, like she knows what's going on. She's
Okay.
not.
Yeah, like you're maybe a little blasé or a little
Yeah.
like overconfident, got that swagger going on, leaning back against things, arms crossed,
Yeah.
just trying to be cool.
Yeah, basically.
All right. Cool. All right. So there's that. And do you think at this point she's wearing her flight suit
I
still?
think, yeah, I think
Yeah.
maybe since this isn't a job, she's like wearing like an unmarked flight suit, like
Okay.
she wears to fly her personal craft at home.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, so wearing a flight suit, just
Mhm.
very lackadaisical. Most of you might have a personal bag of some sort, but most of your gear has been put into magnetic cargo cases, and
Yeah.
they're just in these floor-to-ceiling stacks
Mhm.
along the inside of the elevator. What about Curtis, Justin, Damien?
Okay. I'm sort of staring off into space as the elevator slowly goes up, wondering what type of research facilities they have. I am, after all, used to a fairly high standard, being from one of the more technically advanced areas of the planet. I'm wondering if if it's going to be an improvement.
You have heard good things, but of course, it's all been rumor. And a lot of the information that comes out of the station is shrouded in um, kind of secrecy, almost like it's a top secret facility or something.
Yeah, I'm
But
hoping that they have access to higher tech level materials than we had on the ground.
that is one consistent thing you have heard, that they do some really interesting and unusual things, though acquiring the details has been difficult. So how do you think Curtis is feeling and acting right now on this trip up? Just very businesslike, or maybe a little bit more nervous?
No, more business-like, pensive.
Okay.
Um, Basically, looking at it as another opportunity to expand my already vast skills.
Fair enough. All right. And would Damien or Justin like to go?
Cool, calm, and collected, leaning against the elevator wall, legs crossed, and ready to see whatever this brings.
Okay.
We're out trying to cool each other.
Nah,
Across the elevator.
nah.
And Damien.
The big doctor is just currently observing the people in his surroundings.
Do you think you're taking notes about them, or are you just kind of watching, trying to judge them, see what they're like?
A bit half and half. It's one part note taking, it's one part checking to see which side, which foot they favor. Do they have a particular arm they're fidgeting with? Maybe see if the tone of their skin is fully even and not showing the early signs of jaundice.
All right. So, as you're all standing around, you're not alone, obviously, on the elevator. Like I said, there are hundreds of people on board this massive construct in a variety of cars. But the car that you're in specifically does have a group of younger people excitedly talking. All of them wearing green like jumpsuits that one might wear under a pressure suit, and they look a little too young to be spacers, but most of them do have the bearing of fresh out of primary school, smart kids.
Hmm.
And they're just talking to each other excitedly, and you definitely overhear that they're talking about the academy as well. And among the other passengers, though, who are a little older, the rest seem quite reserved. This group of 5 or 6 seems to be circled around a tall and handsome young man with kind of a regal bearing, and very dark hair and dark eyes, and he seems to be a magnet for their attention. Though you can't make out much about what's going on unless you care to try and dig deeper.
Sidle on over and eavesdrop.
Okay. So why don't you just go ahead and make me either. So one thing that's one of my favorite things about travelers. You technically combine pretty much any skill and any trait, which is wonderful, but like depending on what your strengths are. For this, you could utilize streetwise if you're trying to just blend in. Otherwise, if you're just trying to listen as hard as you can, investigate would also work. In any case, I would go ahead and judge that it's an intelligence check.
Okay.
So I'm going to be rolling 2d6 for this check. This is just for everyone's benefit. 2d6 for the check plus your dice modifier from your trait, and then plus your skill.
What's the dice modifier on 9?
I actually didn't write those down on there because I'm a fool.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to just pause and cover that. So dice modifiers go between -3 and +3. You won't see a score beyond -2 or +2. So if you have a 2 or a 3 in anything, which I don't think any of you do, then you would have a -2. Or sorry, a 1 or 2 is a -2. 3 to 5, you have a dice modifier of -1.
Okay.
6 to 8 is 0. 9 to 11 is +1. And then 12 to 14 is +2.
Okay.
And how do our skills factor into that?
So your skill, if you have a skill, oh, I didn't go over that either because I completely didn't take notes about that. Every time you got a skill from your character sheet, it starts off at 0. And then from there, it goes up by 1
Yep.
for each instance. If there was a number listed next to the skill, that means you just get the skill at that rank.
Okay.
Normally it would start from 0, but if it says you get medic 1, you got medic 1. You skipped having to go with 0. Should you not have a skill at all, you will suffer a -3 penalty to rolls.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect. So,
Oh, whatever great way to start off the game.
what'd you roll? Oh my goodness.
So, what are you guys listening?
So, what skill were you attempting to use for this?
No, I was just using intelligence at that point.
Ah, okay, just intelligence. All right.
So 3.
So Using whatever business acumen you can utilize, you kind of inch your way over to the crowd, and you're just trying to listen. And you hear one of the kids be like, "What's this dude doing behind me?" And like the tall looking kid with the regal bearing turns and looks at you, and he says, "Hey, buddy, you mind backing up a bit?"
Well, if you stop being so loud, I wouldn't have to be so interested, now would I?
He blinks and he goes, "Whatever, okay." And then it's like he gestures and his little crowd follows him, like across the elevator a bit, closer to Riley.
Freaking do nothing nobles.
Yeah,
You
no,
can tell. You
you
can
know
tell
now.
his type.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
he's
can
one
tell
of
his type.
them.
He's one of them.
Parasite, a
He's
leech.
probably from the inner capital. He's probably from uh, the city you just came from, in the area just around the space elevator. It's where all the richest people live.
Bloated
Uh,
leech.
the houses of the Imperium. All
I'm
right.
just trying to figure out if this is part of the test, maybe.
Well, you haven't really met any advisors or any staff from the station yet, so if that's the case, wow, that's pretty rigorous. All right. Well, if no one else is going to do anything, we'll move on. The elevator cruises upward for another 20 minutes before finally arriving at the station. Through ultra thick panes of glass and space age materials, you're able to see the station as it approaches, the sky darkening as the atmosphere thins and the stars coming out brighter and brighter just beyond the silhouette of this large ring dock station that uh, is attached at its center to the space elevator. And there's a loud clunk and a hum as the gravity plating for as the gravity plating comes on online, and what was previously a sense of weighing less is now just as though you are on Earth.
Okay.
You arrive at the dock at your scheduled time, and there you see the same group of 5 or 6 young people that you saw before, and some other faces that you saw on the ride up. But in total, it looks like there's something around 40 people waiting at this dock.
Mhm.
And outside the station windows, on a docking arm, you see a shuttle, just like 6 million other shuttles, with the words stenciled on the side, "Quietus." And a woman steps forward from the docking terminal area, and she begins to usher everyone about. She is tall. She is wearing a green uniform with bright green stripes on her left arm, 6 of them, marking her as a lieutenant of the academy. As you approach, she turns to you all and says, "Congratulations, you all made it. Shortly we will be boarding the shuttle and preparing for launch, so I expect you to be in your flight suits, prepared to don a pressure suit within 20 minutes. Go." And she turns around, she walks up the boarding ramp.
I'm already in a flight suit.
So you are provided now with
Okay.
pressure suits.
Okay.
These are standard issue type pressure suits, but they appear to have several jacks and ports in them for some kind of external connector.
Now I have a skill in vac suit.
Perfect. So that means you would have no trouble donning those on your own. You're familiar enough that you don't struggle with them.
Yep.
Anyone who hasn't ever donned a vac suit, well, it's going to take you a little bit longer, and you're going to have. And there's some academy staff wandering around, checking people's suits and making sure they're attached properly.
Mhm.
During this time, is there anything you would like to do?
I think I'm going to check and see if any of the people around me are particularly struggling with theirs, and I'll help them out.
Okay.
No,
Perfect.
that goes there. Make sure they don't die in the cold depth of space.
Oh, I've
Why
got
don't
my
you-
helmet turned the wrong way. My flight suit's inside out. I got a dex of 4 here.
Beautiful. I love it. Riley, why don't you go ahead and just, for fun's sake, let's roll either an education or an intellect
Okay.
plus vac suit.
All right, that is a roll of 6 plus 1 for intellect. Plus I have 1. I'm a 0 in vac suit.
Okay, so you know enough to
Yep.
help someone. So, I mean, let's say you help Curtis, because
Okay.
Curtis seems to be struggling, and you know, the
Are you sure this is the right boot?
perfect. Justin or sorry, I'm trying to go by your names now. Ronnie and Dietrich. What are you guys up to?
Well, I've also got a skill in the vac suit. I assume I'm competent at putting it on.
Absolutely. This is like, this is practiced. You've had to take it off and put it on a lot.
Yep. So I will don that and then also take notice of how everyone else is doing it. But instead of helping, I'm just observing,
Okay, perfect.
just to see who is capable and who is not first.
It seems relatively evident that the majority of the people boarding this shuttle have never wore a vac suit before. Um, there are a couple others like you who have the kind of glazed over look of someone who's done this a million times, putting on all the pieces and then, sealing them up and uh, carrying their helmet around because, well, who wants to wear a helmet before they have to?
Yep.
And you do notice, though, that Curtis seems to be struggling. What does Curtis look like? Or sorry, what does Paul look like?
Paul, on the shorter side of average height, maybe about what 5'5" or so.
Yeah.
Dark hair. Actually prefers wearing glasses over implants.
All right.
Seeing as I don't see any reason to have to alter what good Mother Nature has given me. Rather clumsy, but seems to understand what he's being told by whoever's helping him.
Okay. Fair enough then. So you see this gentleman who seems to be struggling, and the overconfident woman who is standing across the elevator wearing aviators, trying to look cool, is
Yep.
helping him. But then let's move over to Dietrich. How do you think Dietrich's doing with the spacesuit?
Well, so far so good. An arm in each sleeve,
Legs.
leg in each leg, except for the fact it's on backwards.
Ronnie, do you just continue to watch as everyone's struggling? You're just gonna stand there? Perfect. All
Yep.
right.
Yep.
You see that if something goes wrong, you're probably gonna have to take charge, just
Yes.
based on this scene in front of you.
Yep.
After the allotted 20 minutes, everyone does have their vac suits all secured. Sometimes every assistant around rushing to make sure they have it all done and then rushing off as the door to the boarding ramp slides open once more and a green light pings and a voice calls over the comm. A somewhat soothing, if bland, um, deep male voice. It says, "All entrants for the Academy, please begin boarding." And you file on board the ship. The shuttle is just like any other shuttle you've ever been on, except this one has a large portion of the cargo area converted into a crew cabin sufficient enough to fit 36 people. Normally, a shuttle can only hold something like 8 additional passengers beyond the pilot and co-pilot. But with this setup, you have entered through the cargo bay at the midsection of the ship, turned left to the rear of the ship, and now you are finding yourself in a section that has large, soft-looking chairs on swivels. Ronnie, you've seen this before. This is familiar to you because this is typically tech only used on military frigates for high gravity maneuvers. Each of these seats spinning to face wherever the thrust gravity is located, because gravity plating can't compensate for 5 Gs of thrust. But that doesn't seem likely from a shuttle like this. But you don't exactly know the details. But Riley, you do. You know that a shuttle like this can normally only pull about 2 Gs.
Okay.
And that's a lot, don't get me wrong. It's still twice your weight, but it's bearable.
Mhm.
And you can't imagine why they'd have this really crazy kind of advanced technology for the seating.
Hmm.
Nonetheless, I assume you're probably excited.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
this might actually be fun.
and of course, for Paul, this is heartening because this says that the Academy has a budget. It means that maybe their research is pretty good.
Yeah.
Expensive seating.
At least their cable cars look comfortable.
And Dietrich, um, you are a little disheartened as you walk in because when you're walking through the cargo bay, you notice that there is but one medical pod.
I doubt this ship even has the good drugs.
Based on the named magnetic cargo crates that are being loaded on, being again once again stacked floor to ceiling, with names on each of them, you're guessing that no, they probably don't have much beyond first aid, and that this is likely just for any intense emergencies. Okay. So, you guys strap in for the trip.
Mhm.
The seats seem to click into place as they plug into your suit and begin feeding you air and oxygen. And a voice comes over the comms. Secure helmets. Prepare for detach from docking bay. And you set into motion on something familiar for some of you, unfamiliar for the others. Once again, the woman reappears, and she is standing at the front of the ship. And she said, "I'd like to be the first to welcome you on board the shuttle Quietus, outbound from Ryssia Prime to the Imperial Institute for Research and Intelligence. Once again, congratulations. You made it. You've been recognized by your betters as the best of the best that Ryssia has to offer. Within the confines of this hull, you will find friends, maybe some enemies, maybe some rivals. Look to your left. Look to your right. The people you see, their feelings about you and your feelings about them do not matter anymore. They are your family. They are your sword, your shield, your lifeline." Ronnie, you've heard this before. You're probably falling asleep. Basic training, anyone who went through basic training, really. So, Riley, you're also like, yeah, whatever. But all of the youngers seem enraptured by this. And some of the older folks seem a little annoyed, but nonetheless, maybe a little frightened. And she continues her speech. When someone laughs, giggles a little bit in response, she snaps at them and says that this is not a game. This is not a joke. I'm sure you're all wondering what the Alendor Exam is. You may have heard of it. And I want you to try and put all thoughts of it out of your mind because you have no idea what it is. And guessing will only make it harder. Just be ready for anything. And with that, she turns on a heel and walks out. And then over the comms, her voice comes once more. The Empress is relying on you to do your best, to do well. And the cabin erupts into soft chatter.
I assume I sat next to Riley,
Mhm.
Okay.
turn to her and say, "She's not going to pilot this thing."
There's a pilot up there. Someone's flying this.
Certainly someone.
Okay.
Okay.
A crate like this, anyone could fly it. You could fly this.
Doubtful. The best I can do is a 4-wheel vehicle.
All right. Ronnie, you're sitting there. What do you think is going through your head? This was never something that came across to you as a basic training type ordeal, so the drill sergeant type motif is kind of strange, or the recruiter type motif is a little odd to you. What do you think?
I think they're just looking at weaseling out anyone who's going to fail really early. And I'm just buckling in and just seeing what this is all about, because my invitation was about a year old when I got it. I've already been out there on the front lines, so I'm just wading through and seeing what this is all about.
All right. And Dietrich, something you would notice throughout this whole thing, maybe being a little distracted by it, unless you chose to not be, is that there are more hoses going into your suit from these seats than just water and air. There's other things here, other things at play. They look like probably medical of some sort, but nonetheless.
I also
The
think Riley, like, I like getting on a theme park ride and like knowing that it's a roller coaster, even though they say it's not. Like Riley knows these seats, and she's like, "Okay, part of the exam is going to be some high G maneuvers." Like she's getting ready for those and is excited.
Fair enough. As the shuttle's engines begin to, or as the power core turns on, the shuttle becomes a steady rumble, and the pre-igniters you hear kind of hissing in the backdrop just beyond your ability to truly perceive as anything more than background. And over the comms, you have you are given a 5-minute warning until launch. All of the standard disengaging protocols from the dock happen. The machine whir filling the cabin as the arm detracts and as the ports close, and a steady hissing into a squeak as all of the pressure seals completely close off. And that's when you see the dark-haired, dark-eyed, tall, regal-looking gentleman stand up from his seat, completely unbuckled. And he bends over and starts making slapping motions on his ass toward the front of the ship, and he's like, "My name is the advisor." And he's just mocking and being an absolute child. 5 minutes before a 1G burn. Do any of you do anything about this?
I'm gonna yell at him. Like I'm gonna turn around and like, "Get the fuck back in your seat. What do you think you're doing?"
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and make me a intellect
Okay.
plus well, I don't really know if you have any social skills.
I don't have any social skills. No.
Intellect -3.
All right, I rolled well, so that's 11 plus 1 intellect minus 3, so a 9.
Okay, that is well.
Yeah.
Riley turns around and gives him a stiff shout. He turns and he looks at you and goes, "And who are you?"
Lieutenant Riley Case, Imperial Navy. Get in your seat before this thing takes off and you end up smashed into the back.
He goes, "Oh yeah, you work for my parents, so you don't know what you're talking about. All of you think that you do, but none of you do." And he's just acting like a clown. He goes, "She's just trying to scare us. No, nothing's gonna happen. Nobody's gonna get hurt. What are you talking about? Like sword and shield? What's all that nonsense?"
Turn to Riley.
Shrug and be like, fine, do it yourself.
Yeah, turn to Riley and say, this is Darwinism at work. Let it take its course."
I'm not on get him back in his seat. So
Okay. Dietrich or Ruby?
I would like to tell the gentleman, I don't care where you come from, who you know, you sit down. I don't care about you hurting yourself. I care about you hurting others.
Okay. So definitely I would say for you a social standing would do well with that.
Mhm.
And as for skills, what do you think would be relevant
I got
throughout your
leadership.
list?
Leadership.
Yeah, that works for me.
So I roll my 2d6.
Yep.
I got 7 plus 1 for the social standing. And I've got
Okay.
3 in leadership.
So, all right. Upon leveling him with this, probably a kind of patronizing look, and saying those words, he promptly flushes a darker color and he returns to his seat.
I'm gonna
He's
turn around and give the captain a little salute.
He's barely buckled in before the comms call out launch in 3, 2, 1, and you are pinned into your seat as a much heavier than 1G burn occurs. It's no faster than you've ever gone, Riley. Nonetheless,
Yeah.
absolutely no warning,
Way
just
too
full
fast for my
thrust.
show, right?
Not way too fast, but typically the max speed.
Okay.
Typically this is the maximum speed. But
Okay.
your seats, for those of you who aren't exposed to this, Riley, you would have been as well, I realize. Paul and Dietrich, you are slowly compressed into the seat, but it seems to catch all of your weight and distribute it, and until your body can adjust. But nonetheless, you're away twice as much as you normally do.
Oof.
So
I would have enjoyed watching the laws of physics take that fool.
something you all would have done long beforehand as well is watch several basic training videos about being in space, but none of them prepared you for this. Your hull and you being one of them. So you've been spaced. Another. Terrible, terrible corporate training videos. Not very good budget. With someone who looks like they never went to acting school standing in front of a really awful green screen. So, is there any kind of observations you guys would like to make on the route up? Any kind of mental checks? Because it is not standard procedure at all to just blast 2Gs straight out of dock.
I think Riley is giggling and like turns to Paul and was like, "This is a pilot after my own heart."
Where are we going in such a hurry?
Well, actually, Paul might know. Go ahead and make me a what science specialization did you have?
I took genetics.
Genetics. Okay. Just make me a science 0 check with education.
Six.
Sufficient. You would know that, especially with your background and just general science, being surrounded by other intellectuals and educated folks, that Alendor is 100 million miles away. So if they're going to make any short time at all, it's got to be fast. Got to be very fast. And the initial estimate that was given was that you would be underway for a week. So it's a little, it's even more strange then. Such a fast start for a week-long trip that could easily have ramped up much slower. Nonetheless, about an hour goes by, and then the shuttle thrust ramps down slowly to about a quarter G. And the over the comms, you hear that same male voice from before. Hello, passengers. I hope that wasn't too heavy for you. We are just about to enter. We just entered into our final course. We are making corrections right now, and we will be taking a hard burn at 4G in just about 20 minutes. So what I'd like for you to do is make sure that you are all secured and properly seated, and also prepare for some medical attention, as in order for your body to withstand the pressures of this burn, you're going to be injected with some drugs and a sedative. For the remainder of the trip up to Alendor, you will be lightly sedated. It will be about 4 days.
Is there a fresher?
There is.
Go use it.
Fair enough. As
Am
soon
I
as
surprised by a 4G burn out of the shuttle?
yes, absolutely. That's twice the power of any shuttle you've ever used.
Yeah.
And you realize you didn't really get the opportunity to look at the engine configuration on this, but it didn't look unusual.
Is also being sedated for 4G? Like, have I been to 4G before?
Let's see. No, you went to the academy mostly, so you haven't been on 4G, but you've heard of it happening. It's
Yeah.
just usually on like military frigates.
Okay.
I mean, Ronnie, you might have been. Actually, yeah, you have been. You were a ground assault. You were thrown out of a ship into drop pods.
Yeah.
So Ronnie, during training, you would have been exposed to those kinds of things, and yeah, there's drugs involved with like some of that to make sure your heart doesn't collapse. But sedation, that's unusual.
Okay. Going to the toilet does make sense in my head, though.
Alright.
So I will also do that.
Paul like just hurries off to the toilet. He's like, "Oh, gotta use the bathroom before
Yeah.
we get crushed." And
Testosterone.
everyone seems to think that's a good idea, and people start like lining up and like, "Hurry up!"
Trendsetter. That's me.
Dietrich, you've been
Yeah.
awfully quiet. What is Dietrich doing?
He's trying to figure out what these extra tubes are all for. Still,
Well,
there's a citation, but it's
mhm.
not adding up number-wise yet.
So there were 2 extra injector ports you saw. And if you get up out of your seat, you can frankly turn around and look at them if you'd like.
Of course.
All right. Why don't you just give me a education medic roll?
All right. Hold on. Gotta check this thing out. +1, +3. So nice. I rolled a 9, +1 from education, +3 from medic, giving me a 13.
All right. Yeah. Immediately, it makes sense. As soon as you heard about the sedatives, you're going, oh, people need to be trained in order to withstand these kind of Gs, even with aid, even with the aids of drugs and these high G like chairs that you're in. So sedation makes sense, not necessarily because people would die otherwise, but they might panic and suffer a psychological trauma if they were not sedated, because a lot of these people have never even been to 2G until today.
Makes sense.
Dietrich, you had one patient in the past that had suffered gravitational trauma. So you understand what G-forces can do to the body. And in some way, looking around at all the unprepared children in this cabin, and even the unprepared adults, you kind of feel a little grateful that everyone's going to be sedated. But you also notice that the tubes are actually kind of easy to adjust. So Yeah, it's strange. They don't look like they're 100% secure to you.
Concern.
All right, fair enough. um, fair enough. All right, so if everyone just lines up for the bathroom, I will go ahead and wait for Paul to get back. I was planning on just taking an actual 15-minute break at 12:30, by the way, if everyone's cool with that. So in about 45 or 40 minutes, 35-ish minutes, yeah. All right. Um,
I think that while we're waiting, Riley wants to listen a little closer to the engines to figure out if she can figure out what's going on with this. I have a mechanic of 1.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, heck, even pilot could come in use. It's definitely an intellect role with this. So
I have a pilot of 2, so I'll do
it
that.
won't tell you anything about the specifics of the engine, but it will tell you just like if you've ever heard something like this.
Okay. Not a great roll. 5, 6, 8.
8. Okay. That's not bad actually. 8 is an average. So that's a normal check. You know, you haven't, in the R&D labs around where you grew up, you recall some of the testing, some of the engine testing they were doing at some of the launch sites. And you definitely suddenly remember this familiar whistle that these engines are doing. And it was a test of a new thruster,
Mhm.
like brand new,
Hmm.
like very high tech, extremely expensive. The company was told that it was unrealistic and they needed to make it cheaper by all the other branches that
Mhm.
they were initially bidding contracts for. So this
Mhm.
new thruster was way too expensive, over-engineered, not really useful, but you do know it's a very high power thruster. It was
Okay.
able to output almost double the power of a regular thruster of its size.
Okay. Cool. I'm excited.
I bet you are. Okay, and is there anything else anyone would like to do before we are all asleep? You feel the cold sensation of metal touch against your skin as tiny little micro injectors just pierce and inject something kind of soothing. It doesn't actually hurt that much. It just feels like a little pinch. And a cool sensation spreads over your body as the thrusters ramp up and you feel yourself being pressed into your seats. And just outside the tiny little portholes, as space is out beyond, you see one last glimpse of the sun before everything goes dark. And the last thing you can hear is the thunderous drum of your heartbeat as you pass into the black, both physically and metaphorically. What do you think as each of your thoughts upon waking? Oh,
I
I
think,
can't.
go ahead.
That's okay. I saw you talking, Justin, Ronnie, but I didn't hear anything.
It's all right. You good?
We're good. Go ahead.
I look around to make sure I'm still on the ship and that we haven't been scammed or anything.
Fair enough. You feel surprisingly awake, incredibly awake, and the cabin is completely dark, except for light
Right.
coming in from the porthole to your left.
Right. Does anyone else look like they're moving?
I'm sure that Riley was just
Yeah.
stirring.
Yeah, I do a big stretch. Like that's the best sleep I've had in a while. Riley is not a good sleeper, and like that was amazing.
All right. So, perfect. So Riley is just stretching. You can see people in this wan light coming in through the porthole, but otherwise, well, the cabin is pitch black. And Riley, alarmingly to you, completely silent.
That was my
No,
next question.
no hum of power cores, no click and whir of air recyclers, no anything.
Okay. What about gravity?
You feel as though you are floating.
Oh no.
You are in a microgravity.
Uh-huh.
Would I know if I disconnect from this, I lose access to oxygen if there was none outside?
So, your suit has readouts on it for
Yep.
the pressure and oxygen outside, and it appears as though the oxygen in the shuttle itself is at about 70%, and the pressure is, or the air is about 70%, and the pressure is similar. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Then I
Someone-
decouple and get out of the
Okay.
seat and go straight to the front.
Riley's following too.
Okay.
Yeah. Paul wakes up and thinks, okay, do I have to go to the refresher again?
Dietrich, what are you doing?
Dietrich wakes up and he's first looking for the time, trying to figure out if they're there, and then eyeing these readouts for pressure and atmosphere inside the ship.
Okay. Do you want to make me a medicine plus intellect really quick, or a medic plus intellect rather, Dietrich?
Sure. Why does the doctor have a -1 for intellect?
Because doctors don't need to be smart; they need to be educated.
Fair. And crap.
What's that?
I rolled a 3.
All right. So what was your total?
5.
Okay.
It's better than a 2.
Technically, it is better than a 2. Always looking on the bright side. Well, God, you feel great. Like you just feel awake, like so awake. Yeah, that's weird. Otherwise, looking at the readout, you see similar data that the pressure in the cabin is lower than it should be. The oxygen density is fine for the air percentage, but the air percentage is also lower than it should be. So it seems that slowly we are losing air.
Are there comms through all of the suits or through all of it?
You do have an internal communications mechanism inside your suit, yes. So
Would that go to the front, or
yeah, you
like,
can.
I bring...
It's got a small computer in it, so it does have a HUD that projects onto your helmet screen, and you're able to navigate it with ease using little finger buttons.
Yep.
And yeah, you see that on this there are all the students on the comms, but then there are also 2 people up front. One of them says Margaret Tiller, and the other says Captain Emerson Gray.
I'll try and open a comms with Emerson Gray.
Okay. So Riley, as you're at the door, there's absolutely no power, and you can't even find the emergency release, like the emergency door release.
Yeah.
So you cannot see anything beyond this door. You know that the cargo bay is directly in front of you, and then beyond that is the pilot's cabin. I'll get to you in just a second, Ronnie. And there's no power. Paul is using the restroom. Dietrich is sitting. Ronnie calls up from your helmet cam, or sorry, from your helmet comm, not cam. You call up Captain Emerson, and you get a response right away. And he says, "Mr. Bertson, I see you're awake."
Yes, should we be?
Yes, I'm really glad it worked. But there's a problem. If you look out the portholes, we've been hit by a meteorite shower, and the main power's been knocked out, and we're locked in the cabin.
Okay, no need to panic. Where's the damage?
He says the port wing the port wing and port nacelle are both damaged, and it seems that the auxiliary generators in the starboard wing and starboard nacelle are offline. I think the connection was probably severed by a rogue meteorite. I don't know. I mean, we didn't expect a meteor shower. Our predictions said otherwise, but I suppose you can never really prepare for everything.
So your first indication is that the nacelles have been severed?
That seems to be what it is, but I can't really see from here, and all of our sensors are in fact down. Emergency power was running oxygen for a while, but that has died off as well, leading me to believe that the main power unit or main power lines have been cut.
Okay, so outside of these, the nacelles and the auxiliary power, is there any other way that we can get power back immediately so we stop losing air?
The emergency backup batteries are located directly adjacent to your cabin in the fuselage, and so you might be able to reconnect those by bypassing the broken conduit. There are repair tools in the cargo bay, but we are not able
That's
to get to them.
directly. No
Between.
worries. I will head a team. Do you have any idea on anyone who would have this knowledge in here with me?
Thinks about it and he goes, yes, there's a
You've
a
got a crew
technician.
list.
There's a technician by the name of Emily Jacoby, who is quite young, but she, I believe, has the capacity to fix this if you can get her the parts.
Yep. No worries. Will do. Keep comms open and I'll get back to you.
Hurry up, please. You can tell that this man was not military by any means.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah, he was
civilian
shaking.
pilot.
What's the plan, Captain?
All right, so I turn to you and I'll turn to the room and I'll announce, is there an Emily Jacoby here, please?
So as this is all happening, people had started coming to, and some people
Are they
started.
not all the way?
Well, this is backtracking a little bit. As this is all happening, as you were talking to Emerson Gray, you were certainly not noticing people coming to, but you assumed they would be. Riley, Paul, Dietrich, you all would have noticed people starting to come to, and Dietrich, there's a young man to your in your, excuse me, there are several young people in your seat in their row of seats, and they all begin to ask hurried questions. What's happening? Where are the lights? Why does it feel like I can't breathe properly? What's going on? Dietrich?
Wait. Oop,
Yeah.
just making sure I'm not muted. Number one, you all need to calm down. Do not panic. Listen to me. Do not panic. If you panic, you'll hyperventilate, you'll use more oxygen, and then we'll die.
At that, one of them starts crying.
Worst possible thing to say. We could die.
I don't think the doctor's a pediatrician.
Yeah.
Paramedic. Yeah, I mean, Dietrich, you're used to dealing with drunks and people who have done stupid things, and usually they're too delirious for you to need any real bedside manner. Used to pulling people out of wrecks and rescuing people from sea cliffs and things like that. That was your job. So this is not really your shtick.
Can
All
we
of you.
sedate them?
Can you what?
Can we sedate them?
There's no power to the ship. Do you have any sedatives on you?
With my luck, no.
Pardon?
With my luck, probably not.
Fair enough.
Tear apart the chairs.
Well, the most all of your gear is in the cargo hold anyway. So if you needed to access any of your personal gear, you would also have to get to the cargo hold. The cabin around you has 36 seats, these special seats, right? And there's a row going down the middle that is just an open walkway. And then there's a small refresher toward the front by the cargo bay. and there is a large cargo hatch on the back of the vessel. Otherwise, that is your only other exit is through the door that you cannot get through right now. Out the portholes, you see a large, looming, brightly glowing gas giant.
Mhm.
Presumably Alendor, maybe? You hope? And there are pieces of hull fragments and metal spinning through the air. Or air, sorry. Space!
Um,
Casting shadows.
I'm looking for some sort of like hydraulic release I can break for this cargo hold door with my mechanic ability.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and make a roll for it.
That'd be intellect plus mechanic.
Yeah. Yep.
That is a 11.
11. Wow. All right. You know, um, there is no release, but you're a very determined individual, and you're able to actually figure out where the hydraulic line would be,
Mhm.
and you know you could sever it. Of
Yep.
course, right now it's fully pressurized, so severing it could do some horrible damage to anyone or anything. So you know that as well.
Yep.
But you know you could get the door open. You would just need to sever the hydraulic line.
Yeah. I'm gonna let the captain know this. Captain, there's a hydraulic line. I can break it. We can probably open the door, but it might harm anyone nearby.
So that's our first plan. We'll see if we come up with a better one.
All right.
All right.
Paul.
So I might address the room.
Okay.
Oh, Paul.
No. Go ahead. Yeah, if you want to make a speech.
No, I just want to say that that it does appear like we have lost power, but a lot of times in military we do training exercises. This may be one. There's a lot of civilians on this ship. If you don't know what you're doing, just stay in your seat and we'll handle it. I'll contact you through the comms individually if I require your assistance, but until then, stay here until you are requested to do something.
Please make me a social standing plus leadership roll.
Yep. Do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
That's still stellar. I'm going to go ahead and give you a conditional +2 just because you are a beacon of calm in this sea of potentially panicking people, and they all look to you anyway. So that is more than sufficient for them to kind of nod and go, okay, all right. And most people stay seated. Much to your surprise, through the clear faceplate of one of the helmet, you see the face of the young gentleman who was making a fool of himself before stand up, and he says, "My name is Jefferson Fairborn, scion of the first house of Ryssia, and I actually know a thing or two about. I was given training. I can help. Whatever you need."
All right, Jefferson, you come with me.
And you gain a contact, Jefferson Fairborn, scion of the first house of Ryssia, which means that any point through the game, they are more prone to listen to you than other people.
Okay.
All right.
I light up the comms to the captain. I also have some skill in electronics if needed.
Okay, so Ronnie, Paul calls over the comm saying that yes, electronic skill if needed.
That does sound great. Please accompany me to where we're going next.
All right.
Did we ever find? Oh.
And Dietrich, what are you doing right now?
I'm currently keeping an eye on the crying children.
Okay. There does seem to be a a presence gathering around Ronnie Bertson, and where a woman in a jumpsuit, excuse me, everyone's wearing spacesuits. I remember that. Um, where there seems to be a gathering of people who, through the occasional glimpse through their helmet, they look like individuals you saw on board the elevator. It seems like they have this under control for the most part. The people who were crying kind of stop and are breathing slowly and are looking uncertainly, but they seem to be all right.
I'm gonna click open to like open comms. Like, is there a doctor on board?
To hell with the kids' table. I'm going to the adults.
All right. So, Paul, what were you saying before? Sorry, I interrupted you.
I was just wondering if we ever found the Emily.
Good,
I would.
good timing. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Yeah, I was waiting for that team to assemble, and then I'll hail or use the comms to contact Emily Jacoby.
All right. An astronomically tiny person crawls out of one of the rear seats and walks up, and they wave at you sheepishly, and from the through the clear glass plate of their helmet, you can see um, kind of an angular but cherubic-looking face, very young. You don't think they could be a day over 16. Um,
Yep.
and she goes, "How can I help?" She tries to look very
I've been
serious.
told by the captain of the ship that you have some experience dealing with engineering.
I can
Yeah,
fix just
I've
about
got
anything.
lost.
I'm not
Yep.
gonna I'm not gonna I couldn't run a ship for you, but I can fix anything.
Well, that's great because we have a ship that needs fixing. So, would you be willing to come and help us?
Okay. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
If that's gonna, yeah, absolutely. And she nods.
All right. Do you know anyone else on here on the ship that would be able to help at all?
She shakes her head. She goes, "I don't know anyone. I'm not here with anyone."
Okay. All right. That's all right. Now, if we need to get to, now I scribbled notes down. I can't read them, but it was directly fuselage broke. So,
It's all right.
is there a fuselage that was like directly behind us that we need to get access to?
Yeah, so you guys are currently inside basically what amounts to a metal tub, which
Yep.
is a module inserted into the inner hull of the shuttle, and so the fuselage, of course, just being the whole thing. So if it's inside the inner hull, then you would need to access the inner hull through this lovely little metal insert, um, and there are access panels. So you're not really sure, but communicating that to her, she kind of goes,
Yep.
Okay, I'm not really familiar with this design of shuttle. I don't know where anything is."
Now, this lovely lady here, Riley, she's explained that we could get through the doors, but we'd have to cut the hydraulics, and that could lead to some damage to people and property. If we can try and get through any of these ports, what was that again?
There's a rear cargo door, and it is
Yep.
quite large. It's the
Yeah.
span of the entire cabin.
Yep. So that's the one that would do damage if we severed that.
No, you could sever the hydraulic line to the door leading to the actual cargo hold. Sorry that I'm using double words here. The loading doors, we'll call them, in the back. Um, on the other end, if you opened those, well, it would just vent any remaining atmosphere. That would be the big problem there.
It's the back door to the.
To the actual
Yeah.
shuttle.
Let's not do that. Back door stays closed. We live.
Speaking of
Wait.
that, Doctor, how long do you have with the oxygen we've got now and this much crew?
Hmm. Give me a moment. I have to think about the number of people, approximate body weights.
Education plus medic, please.
Have we started tapping into our emergency vac suit supply yet?
Not quite yet.
Damn. So I got an 8.
Okay. That is sufficient enough to know that you don't think that with 36 people awake in this confined space, you don't think that it's really gonna last that long. You think maybe you have 30 minutes left of oxygen. The pressure is going to get too low, and then you're going to go onto your suit supplies, which you don't really know the specs of this, but standard suit or standard emergency suits that aren't expected to be used as extravehicular activity provide about an hour's worth of oxygen.
I think it's a good idea for us to get oxygen running ASAP.
Okay.
So, what are you guys doing? What's your plan?
Say, Riley, the front door is there.
Yep.
Are we sure there's not hard vacuum on the other side?
That should be the cargo bay.
But if
When
we've
you
been-
boarded, so long as the external loading doors at the cargo bay are closed, then there should be oxygen. Should be atmosphere.
If we've got a group comms going, I'll explain that the port wing and the port nacelle and the starboard wing, starboard nacelle have taken damage from a meteor or asteroid. There may be a possibility that the cargo doors are damaged as well, but we don't know. So if we take that risk, we could flush everyone out.
All right. Decision time.
We
do we
need
have
tools.
tools available to us?
Yeah. So what did Emily say? Did she say she could go through a different door?
So Emily said that if she needed to if you need to do anything with the power couplings, she doesn't exactly know the layout of the ship, but if someone understood the layout of this type of ship, she could certainly work with it. Otherwise, she could start looking around,
Yeah.
Do
trying
we
to
have
figure
tools
Well, I mean,
available to us?
Yeah. Do we have tools?
Tools are in the cargo bay.
I'd
Do
say
we
cut the
have-
line.
So let's.
All right.
I think we open this door. We
Okay.
can sit here all day, and this is my vote. We can sit here all day deciding whether we open the door or not, and slowly run out of oxygen, or we can roll the dice.
We could
Fair
open
enough.
comms to the cockpit and see if anyone has a schematic of the ship and could tell us how to get to the power couplings.
As you open comms, you realize that Captain Emerson Gray is no longer available as a comm option, and Margaret is the only one left. Margaret Tiller.
She'll do.
Margaret informs you. The captain's comms went dead. We've been adrift here a while, and we haven't had access to the ship's power, so it's just me now. But what do you need?
Do you have schematics or any idea on how we can get access to the power couplings from where we are located now?
She makes a humming noise, and she says, I spend most of my time on a space station. I don't know anything about this particular shuttle. I've taken it a lot, but I can't give you the schematics. They would be in the central database, and I mean, I know that I have been informed that it is solid state memory. So if you could connect it to your suit, you could feasibly download the schematics to your suit. I believe. I think I've seen people do that. I'm not sure. I don't know if your suit has enough computing power.
It's all right. We'll work it out when we get there. Where would I get access to the central database?
In the cargo hold.
Oh, good. Perfect. All right. Thank you very much.
Centralized.
We'll get back to you soon. Stay safe.
She goes, please hurry. And the comm cuts off.
All right. We're going to get in that cargo hold now.
Okay.
All right.
Get everyone back
So-
as far as you can.
Yep.
All right.
So we'll allocate people where to move.
All right. So there are several different things that you are able to loosen that will give you access to that power cable or to that hydraulic cable, Riley. And you are free to yank it. So what I need you to do is just go ahead and make me a dexterity plus mechanics check.
Okay.
We should have got everyone to buckle in first.
That's a 7.
A 7. All right. So as you tug, it's a little harder than you thought, and then you feel a slight thump, and it comes free, and all hell breaks loose. Break time. So in about 5 minutes, I was going to be about 5 minutes, but this seems like the perfect opportunity. Let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break and find out where exactly everything goes after
Outside.
this.
See you in 15
Minutes. And we are back. So, when we just left off only a couple minutes ago, our lovely Lieutenant Riley Case, bright futures fresh out of the academy, just pulled a hydraulic cable because elsewise it's entirely possible it would have been a slow, suffocating death, and that's just boring. Why would anyone want that?
Now we can accept
Precisely,
death.
why would anyone want that? Riley, what is your endurance score?
My endurance is a 7.
What's your strength score?
8.
Okay. Your endurance is reduced to 0,
Okay.
and you take 2 points off your strength. And this is temporary. This is how the damage system
Yeah.
works.
Okay.
So when your endurance is reduced to 0, what that means is just that you are knocked flat out.
Mhm.
It means you're down. It could be a wound, it could be, concussion, it could be any number of things.
Yep.
When you start taking strength and dexterity damage, that is an actual significant wound.
Okay.
Whether it is, whole body and it's bruising, or
Mhm.
something that debilitates you slightly.
Mhm.
So the cable flies free and sprays a jet of blue fluid, and you cannot hold it, and especially in microgravity. You are thrown against the wall with such force that all of the air is knocked out of your lungs and you feel a horrible snap in your chest.
Okay.
There's a terrible scything pain through your torso as the last of the hydraulic fluid jets free. And in that brief moment, you see that one of the people in the front rows, there is a piece missing from their helmet, and you see pieces of things flying up. Looks like liquid flying up from it. The power of the hydraulic jet that close, cleaving through their emergency pressure suit and possibly through them. But nonetheless, the door.
And I'm knocked out, you said?
Not knocked out. You are just very hurt. You don't feel like you can move. You're just like, oh God.
Yeah.
You certainly can move, but it's going to be with certain labored efforts.
All right, medic, can you quickly get over there and have a look at what's happened to the one?
The person with the floating pieces or the floating person?
Yeah. Let's not say floating pieces too loudly, but let's just take them out of the rest of the population and move them away.
I'm slowly pulling myself up and I'm like, yeah, check on the civilian. I'm good.
Every time you breathe, it hurts.
I'll help Riley.
Yep.
You know what? We're gonna check on the possibly not a corpse first.
All right, I'll go pick.
Yep, bedside manner.
I just don't want to leave a corpse amongst the rest of them.
Tap me on the arm and say,
It
have a
seems
nice
like
rest.
it seems like all the other students in the front row are kind of in shock. They're not really saying much of anything.
Yep. I'll address the room and say, stay in your seats. And I'll go and pick up that person, try to, and take them over near the door.
Yeah, there's in the dark crevices and the dark light and the low lighting of the helmet's missing pieces, you certainly see things that you know should not be outside the human body, and try not to think too hard about it, but you've got all the experience to deal with it, and you pick them up. Are you going to carry them into the cargo hold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Opening the doors into the cargo hold, they just slide away easily into their frames without the pressure of any kind of hydraulic mechanism, and they you find yourself in another cabin about half the size of the cabin behind you. This one with no insert. The walls are a blank, bare steel and composite space age materials, bolts visible, panels visible, etc., etc. And there are cargo crates stacked floor to ceiling to the right side by the cargo doors. And then to your left, there is what appears to be server racks and a couple and a console, though none of them have power. Each of the cargo crates do appear to be powered.
Is there a manual auxiliary power switch anywhere?
In the cargo bay?
Yeah.
Um. Hmm. I don't know if you really know, and you know where to find that.
Yeah,
You could
just
ask that
asking.
out loud, yeah, to the crew at large.
Okay. Hey, does anyone know if there's an a manual auxiliary power switch?
Um,
Emily,
Roll.
our resident noble, anyone?
We have an engineer.
yeah.
So neither neither Jefferson Fairborn nor where did I write the name down?
Emily
Yeah,
Jacoby.
Jacoby. I guess I didn't write it down. Okay. Um, Neither Jefferson nor Emily have followed you in to the cargo bay. They seemed to think that everyone staying put included them.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Poke my head out and wave those two forward,
Okay.
and then ask them if they know if there's a manual auxiliary power switch.
Jefferson strides forward, and Emily follows in suit. And as they both step in, you see Emily kind of like habitually raise her hand to her faceplate, trying to cover her mouth, and just dunk, as she, sees Ronnie depositing probably behind some of the crates. Our lovely friend, or are you going to throw them in the medical pod?
Is there a
There's
medical pod there?
there's a medical pod in the cargo bay that I forgot to mention. You would have actually seen. Sorry, I'd mentioned it earlier, but yeah, there is a medical pod across from the server racks between the.
Then I would have gone.
Is
Yeah,
the
I'd go
pod
straight there.
The pod does have its own backup batteries, and so it is powered. It is a cryopod, so it would just freeze them until they could get proper medical attention.
How many uses do you have of that? Like, is it like a once-off, or is it?
So, I mean, so long as it's occupied, and so long as you have the necessary, cryostasis drugs and chemicals on board. So you're not really sure. It would depend on the ship.
I'm not sure if this one's alive anymore.
So let's.
I'll place
at
that
that
down.
moment-
Yeah.
Okay, let's bounce over to Dietrich
Yeah.
and Riley.
Yeah.
Riley, you're just in a lot of pain, and Dietrich is attempting to tend to you. So, in the use of medic, you're going to attempt, I assume, attempt to triage her wounds first, just to see what's wrong, Dietrich?
Yes, there's also some questions I gotta ask. But
Please do.
let's do this roll first to see if I'm not an idiot. Nice. 12.
12? Holy crap, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you boon on your actual first aid roll because your diagnosis was so spot on. So what that means is you roll 3d6 and take the higher two. So make me one more medic check. It is with education.
That little bugger. There you are. 3d6, higher 2. So 9 plus 1, 10.
Your education plus medic is only plus 1.
Oh no, I thought I just rolled that.
Oh, you're rolling it again for a different purpose.
Oh. Okay.
So your roll was a 9, right?
Yes.
So what's your education plus medic?
13.
Oh, okay. So your initial roll was to diagnose and just to see how good you are in that moment of just figuring it out. And you take the necessary precautions, but you just immediately like, no, she's got broken ribs. And there's really not a lot you can do for her about that. But there is there is some excuse me, there is something you can do, and there's a medical protocol that involved in the suit that you know of that would take more power that you could possibly use, where it will basically just kind of brace. That way, if she takes any bumps to the ribs, it won't damage her further. So you could do that. As a result of this care, Riley, please just gain back. Let's just call it. Oh, equal to the effect. Wow, you gain back 5 endurance just
Okay.
because of the tender care of this gruff paramedic.
Yeah.
So
Thank.
you don't gain back your strength, but you do gain back your endurance.
Good as new.
Still hurts, but you feel like you can move again.
Should
I'm
we
gonna-
move on to hamburger next, or
Do you say that out loud?
no?
Oh, okay. Talk as though you're Dietrich.
Oh,
Go see if they need any help blowing anything else up.
All right. Now that the conscious patient is dealt with, let's tend to the non-responsive one.
All right. I'm not going to have you roll for that one because we're just going to do it thematically. And Riley, as you pass into the cargo hold, something hits your helmet. Something slightly.
Ugh.
Yeah, you're like, what is that? And as you look, there's a spreading globule of red liquid on your visor.
I wipe it off like the best I can.
In the microgravity, it just clings to your glove as well now, and it's you get it off your helmet mostly. Tiny, tiny little dots remain that you know you won't be able to get rid of in this microgravity. Nonetheless, passing through into the cargo hold, Dietrich immediately heads over to the person that Ronnie presumes is dead. And we are left then back with what is Paul doing right now?
well, trying to find the toolbox.
Okay. It's not terribly difficult to find, I don't think. But why don't we have you just go ahead and make a intellect plus, we'll call it streetwise.
Yeah. Okay. 8.
No. All right, that is sufficient. Um, it is in fact a bright yellow box. So you find it with these. You make a quick scroll of all of the columns of cargo and indeed find it right away, and you're able to access it. It's a large tool chest full of what appears to be spare parts, as well as tools necessary to patch the ship.
Okay.
And
Okay,
Emily seems excited at this.
Okay, now so next would be try and access the computer to get that schematic.
Okay. So what I'll need to do is go ahead and make me a intellect or education. I think either would suffice here because it's able to be educated. And then electronics computers.
Cool. 11.
11. Wow. Okay. So, honestly, the thing that surprises you about this, as you're able to plug into the different drives and check through them with your in-suit computer, um, as you plug into each solid state drive and start checking through, the thing that surprises you the most, frankly, is the lack of security. That it's just really there's no security on any of this data. It's
Oh
just
boy.
there are 11 drives here, and as you go to each of them, it's just an open database that you're capable of accessing right away the moment you plug in.
Either
You're
these
not sure
people,
why that is, but
these people are very naive, or they've got a very good social pressure system to keep people out of files. Captain, I've got the schematics here.
you do indeed.
Ah, great work, Paul. Great
Okay.
work.
It is about this time that your suits all ping a little warning as as the air pressure outside drops below safe parameters, and your internal oxygen or your internal emergency air tanks all turn on and activate. And now it
Hey,
informs you of a countdown starting at 59 minutes.
oh,
All right,
okay,
that's our cue to get moving.
that's right.
Okay. So tell me the plan and let's montage through it.
Emily's got the schematics, so she will lead the way to get this backup
Okay.
thing happening, which hopefully should start getting our power going.
Yeah, all sister as needed.
Yeah, I don't think there was any alternate or two-pronged plans. This was it, wasn't it?
I think
You
so.
want me to go check on the shuttle captain? We lost comms.
Check on.
The shuttle captain. We lost comms with.
Oh, they're at the front of the ship. We don't have access to that.
There is a
thought we-
door to the cabin, but you would need to open another door to get there.
We've seen my history with opening doors, but maybe this one has a manual release.
That's all right. We might need, if you want to do that, but we might need all hands just to get it done quickly.
Call me if you need me.
Okay. And Dietrich, you have checked over the body. They are not alive anymore. You know that there is sufficiently advanced resuscitation technology that were they thrown into a cryopod with sufficient power and sufficient, sufficient supplies, that they might be able to be revived. So you probably feel like it's your medical duty to at least put them in there, but then again, that is your call. You are in the field in an uncertain situation. What do you do, Dietrich?
Until we have someone more in need, for the love of God, stop getting injured. We're putting him in the fridge.
All right. So, all right, you said about doing that. That's going to take you some time to set that up. It does take a while, as there are various different procedures that you must undertake. So why don't you go ahead and make me a roll for that? Why doesn't Riley go ahead and make me a intelligence or intellect plus mechanic? I want Ronnie to please make me a leadership plus social standing. No, let's call it leadership plus intellect actually in this one. I know it might not be
Okay.
highest, but it's more applicable.
No,
And
that's okay.
yeah, and Paul, during this, how would you think you'd be assisting in this thing? Would you be continuing to search through files, or are you going to try and provide additional support for Emily and Jefferson?
Provided support for the two of them.
Okay. Right on. Okay. So if you go ahead and make me an electronics computers check using intellect. Yeah.
I got an 8 for that leadership.
You said an 8.
8.
Okay. Riley.
I rolled 2 1s, and I get to add to that. I think
Exciting.
Riley gets up to the front and kind of the weight of what just happened, that she probably killed someone with her decision, and she got majorly hurt and could have died herself. It finally starts to hit her, and she gets the shakes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's getting up to the cockpit door.
Right on. Dietrich. I want you to just roll me an education intellect. Or sorry, education medicine medic.
8.
Okay. Each one of you have a task that you're set to, and you do so with, well, some of you with practice, some of you with uncertainty, some of you with terror. As As Jefferson stands around looking awkward, trying to help wherever he can, Emily begins to disassemble paneling at the rear of the shuttle to try and access the batteries. And Riley, you find yourself unable to find a mechanism, but you find that you don't really want to find a mechanism. You don't really want to open this door at all. You think that it would probably be better off if someone else did that. And I think you take a moment to try and collect yourself. You find yourself standing in front of your one of the cargo crates. Um, and right there, it says your name, Riley Case, in glimmering letters. And it's a little hologram sticking up off of the magnetic crate. Taking a moment to reflect maybe on who you've been and what your decisions have wrought. Dietrich, as you do the necessary injections and port attachments to the patient, hurrying as best you can and loading them in, you wonder if this is what the entire tenure at the Academy is going to be like. If this is just the test, and goodness, if it is, wow, this is just like your job. I'm not sure. I don't know if you want that. Maybe you do. It's up to you. Ronnie, I think you're feeling similar. This is just like your job, but then again, it is new. It's different. There's no military brass involved. That's maybe good, maybe bad. And Paul, this is the most disorganized project you've ever been on in your life. Nonetheless,
You have a job to do.
nonetheless, as the timer on your suit begins to read only 10 minutes remaining in red letters, a steady thrum of power hums through the shuttle as the backup batteries are reconnected to the main power conduits, and a collective sigh of relief passes over the entirety of the crew. And with that,
Is oxygen coming back up from the telltales?
it's slowly climbing back up. Oxygen climbing back up. The air recycler is beginning to recycle any carbon dioxide and pollutants that have built up in the remaining air, and
Minimal
new air
lights?
being pumped in. Lights start to slowly flicker on, though they remain low and often red. And yellow guide beacons are on the floor to guide you along the path. And the gravity plating turns on at 0.1 G, just enough to pull you toward it, but you could very easily fly off of it.
Let's pull up the schematics for the main power couplings next.
Okay. And it is at that a voice comes over the comms and says, "Congratulations, you completed the exam." And um, and you realize that the pieces of the shuttle are no longer floating about. And when you look again, the wings are intact, so are the nacelles. In fact, the main generators start to kick on, and you hear the engines ramp up. And the voice says, "Very clever, cutting the hydraulic line. No one's ever done that."
I rush over to the cryopod to see about the person in it.
Yeah.
Dietrich, you have the terrible weight of knowledge that this person is truly in the potential grips of life and death right now. 2 centuries ago, they would have been declared dead already. But now, with all the nanotech available, you know that it's possible to save them if they're considered important enough to put in first in line when they get out of cryo. So, nonetheless, as everything comes back up, the familiar woman, Margaret Tiller, walks through the hatch from the cockpit area and says, and looks at all of you and says, "Congratulations. Though they will be okay, I think. We do have quite advanced medical facilities at the station, and we should have sufficient supplies to reach there. So it shouldn't really be a problem." But that said, and suddenly the power that you all had turns off. Everything. Complete silence once more, but this time completely black. No light streaming in from the outside. And Margaret Tiller goes, "What the fuck?"
Turn on suit lights.
Small little lights on your helmet beam to life, and you see Margaret Tiller walk over to the windows and look out and go, "Everyone remain seated." She looks distraught. And she walks towards the front, into the pilot's cabin, ignoring the lot of you.
Is this another fucking game? I just nearly killed a guy. You're playing a game, like maybe this is the time to stop it.
She has walked past the main crew cabin, where at this point executives would sit for the most part, and into the actual pilot's cabin, and is trying to do something, but nothing is happening. She's
I'm gonna
ignoring
follow.
you.
I'm gonna follow her up there. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, and Captain, why don't you take a look too?
You know, when you walk forward into this area,
mhm.
suddenly you notice that there are way more monitors, way more computers, way more terminals, way more server racks than you thought would be necessary on board a ship like this. This almost looks like an intelligence operation. And the actual captain, or the actual pilot's cabin, is not a pilot-co-pilot scenario, but a single pilot. And you hear Margaret Tiller whispering to herself, "Fuck, fuck, 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 fuck."
What's going on?
It's comforting.
She turns and looks at you as though you just arrived and sound like some specter, and she said, the test died, I guess. It's probably fine. I'm sure they'll restore power soon to the station, and we'll be all good, right? Right? Yeah, yeah.
Is the station?
Oh, I'm so fired. She then just like takes off her uniform jacket and throws it aside, and she goes, "I'm an actor. I'm not really I'm not really cut out for this. There's actual vacuum outside, but this is all a test environment. I don't understand it. They just have me stand here on board in this pressurized cabin, and I do these things, and then the test moves on, and everyone's fine by the end, usually, except for..." She glances at the medical pod, and then she then looks back down, and she collapses to her knees and starts to weep.
I slide into the pilot's seat,
Okay.
start flipping switches, seeing if I can get anything going.
There is one thing that has a power indicator that works, and that would be for the emergency beacon.
Okay.
You flip
Flip
it on?
it.
Okay. Emergency beacon. It starts it activates, and it calls out on general comms unless you mute it. Imperial Stellar Mandate, code 311578. Emergency. Please respond. Mayday. And it repeats.
I flip it off the general comms, like as soon as it probably goes through once before I realize, and then I flip it off.
Okay. Yeah.
I wave to Emily and Jefferson and point back at the power grid, and let's see what's going on.
Okay.
I flip on and I'm like, "Emily, you an actor too?"
Emily shakes her head fervently. He says, "No, no, no, I'm not."
Okay. Do you think you can figure out how to restore power to the actual ship?
I don't even know what's actually wrong. These batteries are not dead, but as I'm looking at them, hang on. And she starts, anyone around her, you see that she literally just pulls a plate off of the battery casing, and a gentle gasp goes out as it's just empty.
So, did we hear all that we're in a test environment?
It was over general comms.
Yep. Okay. All right. So anything that's related to the ship that we were just traveling in is probably fake. So we need to get out of this test environment and see what's going on.
All right.
So how would that be? Probably from the rear of the cargo bay.
Or that opens
Maybe.
the vacuum of space and we all die.
Or it opens the vacuum of space and we all die. So
We had a bad history opening doors today.
You technically do have oxygen enough at this point. 45 minutes. Probably not 45 minutes. Let's call it 50 minutes. It's only been about 10. 50 minutes of oxygen remaining in your suits, and enough to withstand the vacuum of space for a bit.
Okay.
can we
we're back to
close?
zero.
Can we close that cargo door that we opened, or is that forever open now?
That is forever open now.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, wonderful, right?
What about the this how many people can we fit up in these? You said there's a luxury seating area, right?
Well, what would normally be, there's about 5 chairs up there that are all crammed toward the center aisle by racks of servers and computers and monitors and monitoring equipment on the sides.
So we can't fit the other 30 people into
No.
here. Okay.
Start poking around, see if there's anything live here.
Okay.
That's it. Start
Dietrich.
pulling everything off till you reveal something.
Dietrich, what are you doing? You've been quiet for a while.
Well, I'm still monitoring No Face, but
I mean, No Face is frozen, so
I think I'm gonna grab one of the med kits and keep it with me in case of any more
okay.
heroics.
Fair enough. You go and you grab a medical triage kit. It's like a suitcase like you've had a million times before, and it has maglocks on it that you're able to hit onto the back of your suit.
All right, let's bring on the next cadet now.
All right.
Right, are there any other emergency supplies like small portable oxygen bottles or anything like that?
It appears as though there's not, surprisingly. Though
Yeah.
actually, your triage kit does contain an actual oxygen bottle, not compressed air. So not just straight breathable Dietrich. I mean, except for, in small amounts. So it could save people, but without pressure, it wouldn't really work. So nonetheless, you find nothing else for that. Though in the repair kit, there are all kinds of tools. There's a little handheld circular saw. There's a blowtorch. There's all kinds of things. And Emily seems frozen in fear about what to do. Smart as she may be, she is young.
I pat her on the shoulder and say, "Relax. You wouldn't have been put here if they didn't have complete confidence in what you can do."
She looks up at you, and you see the glimmer of tears in her eyes, and she goes, "Really?"
Yeah, they don't recruit dummies in this place. You're here for a reason.
She laughs at that and seems a little more confident. And she says, "Okay, so what do we do?"
Look
I
for
mean,
power.
okay. And so she starts. She's like, "Well, I think the main generators are outside the inner hull. I don't know if that would cause our atmosphere to vent. I think it would."
Is there an actual airlock anywhere around here?
There's not. Well, the cargo area would count as an airlock, but it would until the hydraulics were broken.
Okay. No personal airlocks, huh?
No.
Oh,
You
what
know,
kind of shuttle is this?
do you think any of you are peering around outside at all with the strange blackness of no stars?
I mean, I'm sitting at the cockpit, so
True. You notice distantly there's a little red dot.
oh,
It's a little square. Yeah, it's just the only light in all of this darkness. The only light. Little red square. Directly ahead of the shuttle.
wait. I turn around to the actress and I'm like, so where are we?
She blinks and she goes, "We are on a real shuttle. Well, a modified shuttle. It's not the same shuttle we came here on. And we're in a test environment. The only way out is by the raft that they used to bring us here."
But we're in space. There's no stars. Are we in like some sort of
No, we're in a sphere. A really, really big sphere. think. They never really told me. I just always assumed.
That's weird. Okay, to do. Have I heard of any sort of like simulator running that way before?
Most high-powered simulators you are aware of use a mixture of holographic projection and real objects to create a simulated environment. And they are often spherical for the purpose of unilateral light source, as ambient lighting, even though it is usually direct, is quite common in space, given that there are, well, stars everywhere.
Um, is this shuttle we're in actually like a real shuttle? Like, does it?
It has no actual thrusters, I don't think. It doesn't have any real critical systems. We've been connected to the main station by this crane arm type thing, and it moves the shuttle around. There's I don't know what it's called, the things that do gravity all over the outside of the hull, and it simulates thrust gravity if we need it. And
Okay. Okay.
I'm not the technician here. The technician went to take lunch.
I I think, guys, I think we need to get on the outside. I had vac suit training at the academy.
Mhm.
Anyone else ever done an EVA?
Of course. That's how we got to planets.
There's two.
Well, I
Well,
think
let's
I
go.
might have to teach Emily to do it as a crash course.
Oh, that's going to be fun. So let's talk briefly about task chains. So the way that you help people in Traveler typically is with a task chain. Anything you can do, any skill check you can make with a sufficient excuse will give them a +2 to their relevant skill check, so long as it is done in the intention of a chain. So by you, for example, rolling intellect plus vac suit, potentially, you could convey instructions, accurate instructions, and she would then have a +2 to her roll to adequately utilize and maneuver a vac suit in EVA. That is how that works. Every person who helps and does their own task is able to add another +2 to the roll.
Okay.
Okay, if we all go out though, we're going to need to assist everybody
Yeah.
because we'll need multiple hands to get this sorted out. Unless we go back and forth, but we don't have enough oxygen to do that, potentially.
Your
Yeah.
oxygen readout say 45 minutes.
The more time we get, the more people's help we get,
Yep.
The better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now,
So
does anyone have a set of binoculars so we can see what that red light is out there?
So one of the students pops up and says, "I brought binoculars," and goes hunting through the cargo stacks for their gear.
I'm hoping that red light's a abort button or something.
And it takes them about. It takes them
no rush.
20 minutes to find their binoculars. So what are you guys doing during that time?
The actress is not in a pressure suit, right?
Nope.
We need to get her. Is there an extra pressure suit somewhere on board we can get her into as we're about to the ship?
There is an EVA locker that contains what appears to be 4 suits right in the cockpit. But of course, now that you're turned around to go looking, you realize that the door between the cargo hold and the pilot's area has slammed shut.
That's all right.
This is another fucking test.
At this point, Margaret is crying and shakes her head and says, "No."
Yeah.
I mean,
Does the door to the cockpit seem airtight?
Mm-hmm.
Are we using oxygen from the suits or from the environment?
The environmental controls were not able to compensate enough for you to utilize them, and the pressure has climbed back up a little bit, but not enough to breathe properly. So you're still using the oxygen from your suits. The student is hunting around through the stacks as much as they can to find their cargo.
How big are the portholes, windows?
The portholes are quite small. Yeah, they're probably only about, what, is that 6 inches across, roughly?
Okay.
Right. Let's get
All right, well, we need to get out.
as we can and open another door.
Okay.
Well, presumably the EVA suits have full charge.
So, Riley, upon inspecting the EVA suit lockers, you do find that one of them is missing, and the other three do have 6-hour air canisters on them. These are actual EVA suits, like actual, real, I'm gonna do a job EVA suits. They are hard suits. They're big, they're bulky, and they contain like maneuvering packs and things like that.
I think you and I take them, Ronnie. So if anyone gets
Was Ronnie up front, or there's a door?
Oh, there is.
You are alone in the front with
Oh.
Miss Margaret Tiller.
Oh, and I can't get the door open.
Right.
Okay, I thought I was in the car. Okay.
That said,
Well, at least they have 12 hours of oxygen left.
Yeah.
that said, so Margaret begins pawing at the suits and like trying to, like, she's never worn a vac suit of her own accord, and is attempting to don one between her hiccuping and sobs.
Hey, it's okay. Let me show you.
Okay, go ahead and roll intellect plus vac suit.
That's a 7.
Okay. And the remainder of you.
Say, Doc, you haven't. How many tranquilizers do you have? Do you have enough to in that med kit? Can you slow down the other people on back to reduce their need for oxygen?
You know what? Let me check, but given the size of this kit, I doubt it.
Well, we can hope.
In the kit, you have sufficient doses for 3 large adults.
No.
These are field tranquilizers, usually intended to just sedate people if they have a traumatic injury that isn't life-threatening, but they need to stop thrashing.
How wide is the cargo doors? Like how wide are they jammed open?
The cargo, excuse me, the bulkhead door between the
Yeah.
cargo hold and the passenger cabin is realistically only about 2 feet wide, roughly, a little bit more maybe. It's quite narrow.
Can we fit the personnel cargo through there, like the boxes?
Yes, sideways you can fit them through.
Yeah. So maybe would they, from an educated guess, withstand the pressure of vacuum of space if we put them up, like to cover up that hole? So if we were to open up,
they use quite strong magnets that they magnetic fields, and they ought to. I mean, cargo holds are often intended to be able to be depressurized and pressurized at will. So.
All right. So I'll say that. I'll say everybody give me a hand. We'll move these cargo containers into there, and we're going to close up that hole so that they're all safe if we're to vent this room out.
Okay, I would like you to make me a leadership check.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus the stat. What stat?
In this scenario, I think that social standing will do.
Okay, 11.
11. It's just about motivating people. That is sufficient. Actually, many people will start helping you, and Jefferson pipes up and he goes, "Come on, let's go. He needs us," and he backs you up. And within, no time, and actually significantly reducing the time taken for finding those binoculars, because the stacks are being moved. So within 15 minutes, now down to 30 minutes of oxygen, you have stacks of crates in the way that could be feasibly used as anchors, and you have binoculars. Curtis, Paul.
Oh, but we can't see because the window that sees the red light is in the front, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Well, you guys are about to go out the back, so you can see it once you get outside.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, can't you?
No, but we need those EVO suits.
Which I have.
You guys do, like I said, all have technically pressure suits, so you can survive the vacuum of space. It's just not really meant for EVA.
I pop over and I'm like, Emily, have any less explosive ideas on how to open a door since you've seen a little more of the ship?
Oh, we've got the tools. We got the torches, the cutters. The...
Yeah. Oh yeah,
She-
you have cutters.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, I didn't know you were locked in. She was in the back, like,
Yeah.
and she runs forward, not runs, sorry, kind of hobbles forward, like hauling this massive case behind her around the stacks, and begins setting to cutting into the door,
Mhm.
to open it up. You guys have 30 minutes remaining on your air. Are you going to wait for the pressure suits? Are you going to wait for the EVA suits? You're just going to kind of hold on.
We was.
It's up to the captain.
Yep. Well, I'm trying to work it out. If we open the
And also,
door,
Emily's
vacuum.
could someone less qualified use this cutter to open the door instead of our engineer?
He's right.
Potentially.
I've just got electronics. Sorry.
Well, I mean, like, could we get like who is the asshole again?
Jefferson is
Yeah.
very willing to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jefferson
But
cutter.
So they're trying to open the door to get to Riley. Yes.
Yep.
Get to the EVA
And the
suits.
EVA suits.
And
Yeah.
the EVA suits.
But it's going to take time. We're going to get out that back door.
You know,
With
the
that.
back door, none of you have exactly inspected it, but I'll just give you this. It
Yeah.
does have an actual emergency release on it.
Okay. Can we utilize any leftover cargo containers as anchors to hold ourselves in place when we vent this?
Yes, I would say that preparation gives you boon on your
Yep.
athletics check necessary to stay in place, be athletics strength.
Okay. So we want to do that, but Emily's still cutting that door open, so we'll have to pause that to jettison the atmosphere in here.
Okay.
So we'll have to wait.
I was going to say that if you want to go out there in your pressure suits, I could join in my EVA suits as soon. My EVA
Yeah.
suit is I'm free. And
Emily
provide-
does call back and say, this is going to take about 10 minutes.
All right. So we want to get this door open so we can start investigating, see if it's even a viable path. So we'll pause your door and we'll jettison this, but make sure we have the cutters contained so they're not going to fly out with everything.
Emily says, that'll add 5 minutes on, but she starts putting away all of her gear.
Yep.
Yep.
And then she braces herself and says, ready.
Everyone ready?
Who's
I'm
opening
down.
the door?
I will open the door if everyone is ready.
All right. Ronnie, this close to the door, reaching over and grabbing that hatch, you will get boon, but your difficulty on maintaining your footing will be much higher because you would be opening
Yeah.
the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have any
I-
cargo cables or anything we can tie him down with?
There
Or
are
at
no
least tether-
cables.
Or
No.
at least tether him with?
Any
Um,
duct tape?
The EVA suits have tethers.
Working on it.
All right. So, I would like everyone to roll me in athletics. Plus strength, I realize, or dexterity could also function.
Oh man, any of the experts could have said no.
Oh, hey, 9.
All right. 9.
Okay.
Oh,
Dietrich.
okay.
There goes the doc.
Ronnie, you grab the door handle and you
Yep.
pull, and you pull it out, releasing it, and the doors click open, and a gust of air brushes past you, but you realize that the air density was too low to actually carry you off, and you're
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
Dietrich, on the other hand, manages to stumble head over heels and is now tumbling down the length of the cabin.
Can we intercept it or are we?
Yeah, no, it's easy. Just
Oh,
at your
okay.
command,
It's just
people
humorous.
reach out and grab you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, nonetheless,
All
you
right.
see a red dot off of the rear of the ship, and your oxygen readout is currently reading 25 minutes remaining.
All right, Emily, get back to cutting those EVA suits out. We've got the binoculars, Paul.
There's another red dot out toward the rear of the ship. Paul.
Okay, so using binoculars, what's the red dot?
It's a little hard to adjust them, but you know, you you managed to make it work. All right, there we go. I think I got it. And you know, it's a door. There's a hatch, and it looks like it's a ways off, you know, far away, but it looks like red emergency lights surrounding it that
Ah,
would have been otherwise invisible against all of the brighter colors.
it looks like it's an emergency exit.
Do we have to do 0G to get to it, or can we just walk along? I look out. Is there floors? Is there rails? Is there
There are no floors
vacuum?
or there are no floors, but you notice that there is a rail that
Yeah.
seems to go the length.
And of course, our person with the best vac suit skill is in the cabin.
Yep.
I'm also there too. So
With the best suit too, so I might just be able to like full jet over to that door.
You know, in your hunting, and as you're donning the DVA suit, Riley, you realize that there is a box right next to the suit you're wearing, which is the captain's suit,
Mhm.
and it has a little symbol on it that you recognize, a munitions symbol. Opening it up, there is an accelerator rifle in a closet.
Ah.
An accelerator rifle is a 0G rifle that only seems to have one magazine,
Yeah.
no extra ammunition, and you're not super good with them, but that said,
Yeah.
interesting that it's there.
Does it have when you call it an accelerator rifle? Does it like have like a kick or something like that?
So what it means is that the bullets accelerate themselves without the kind of combustion that you'd normally have. It's a jet. It's like
Got
a
it.
gyro jet from many different sci-fi and also a real thing.
Okay.
A gun that shoots missiles.
Basically, little
Right.
tiny kinetic
It's
missiles.
it's a 0G weapon.
Yeah, 0G weapon. It won't throw you back when you use it.
Okay. So I can't use this to thrust myself toward the door like I was hoping.
Nope.
You can shoot the window out though and shoot that other red dot.
Oh, I could. Yeah, but now my door is unairtight again because we've had a hole cut in it.
Yeah. I mean, you were able to successfully get Margaret into a vac suit.
Yeah.
Think. Hope.
Yeah.
But
With my dex, I'll never make it to the door.
what do you guys do?
eyeballing the distance. If we were to have a running start using the rails, how long would it take to
That
pull
would
along?
be intellect or education plus, I would say, tactics military, or if you have some
Yep.
kind of science-related thing.
10, 11. 11.
You've jumped boarding actions like that. You know,
Yeah.
it was in training. You'd never done it in a
Yeah.
live fire scenario because you were dropped. But nonetheless, in the trainings for boarding actions, you've done boarding actions from that distance. But man, were they extreme! This is the far edge of the capability of a trained soldier. It's like throwing a dart across a soccer field.
I buzzed and let him know that I've got this rifle and that I could blow the front window open of the ship and
Do it.
make a jump for it.
Do it.
All right.
I want you to make me a dexterity plus gun combat slug
Okay.
if you have it.
I have guns.
Now, does
I didn't
Helen have her suit on before you?
or when I took it, so I put his.
Margaret seems to be secured in the suit.
Margaret.
Okay. I make sure like I'm gonna no because I'm shooting the window. That's a smart. You said there were seats in the back area.
Yes.
Servers are.
Mhm.
I'm gonna strap her into one of those as best I
Okay.
can.
Alrighty. Okay, so you're gonna make that shot.
Yep.
There are no atheists
Okay.
in vac
So
suits.
Dex plus. That's a 7 plus 1, 8 plus 1 for gun combat, so 9.
9. Okay. That is sufficient to not do something terrible.
Okay.
And As you squeeze the trigger, you feel the gun kind of vibrate a little bit, but
Yeah.
there's a jet of gas, and the front panel of the cockpit just dissolves behind a rushing gale of wind.
Okay.
And you are pulled from your feet.
Okay.
You are rocketing forward. If you'd like, you can make me a vac suit plus dexterity roll to try and aim yourself at the last moment before you're pulled out into the black.
That's an 8 plus 1, 9.
9. Okay. You have no idea if you had succeeded. You won't know right away because, well, that is a tiny pinprick of a red thing, and you are flying off toward it.
While I'm floating, I have a question on my comms that just occurred to me as I'm being sucked out. Like, Margaret, why was there a rifle in the cabin if this was not part of the test?
I didn't know there was one, she says. And she's like, "Where'd you go? Are you okay? Should I follow you?"
Please don't.
Oh, okay. I'll sit here. All right. And what are I know you said you're trying to eyeball it. What are you guys doing? You're in the back. You're running low on oxygen, technically, down to 20 minutes. 5
Ooh.
minutes remaining until the door is open.
Yeah, can I get
She-
a channel to Margaret there?
Sure.
Okay, she's an actress, right? Okay,
Wow.
can she get on the main channel and make soothing sounds like this is all part of the test and keep everyone calm?
You're gonna have to persuade her of that.
Oh, jeez. Okay, what's persuasion?
So it's either intellect or social standing, depending on how you're planning to use it. If you're trying to like lie to
Intellect.
her, it's definitely persuasion. If you're trying, or sorry, it's definitely intellect. If you're trying to like utilize your personal experiences to reassure her, it's more of a social standing thing.
Intellect. I'll try and
So
teach her to do
being
it.
cause that's fair.
Yep.
Do you have persuade?
No.
Okay, so -3.
And my 3 stomach 6. She said 0 straight roll. 6.
As you begin talking to Margaret Tiller of the comms, she goes, they are really young, aren't they? A lot of them. And the truth is sometimes more cruel than a lie. Okay. All right. I'll try. She gets over the main comms, and you hear
Oh, God.
her voice shaking a little bit, and she goes, "Students, I'm sure you're frightened right now, but what I want you to know is that the Empress is proud of you. You have persevered in the face of the greatest enemy of all life, the void. And you will continue to persevere. Just beyond those doors out the back of the ship, you will find that there is a greeting for you, a welcoming arms of being in the academy." And she closes the comm. And she calls over to Paul, and she goes, "I can't do it anymore. Okay, that's the best I can do."
That's fine.
Um,
As long as we can give them some glimmer of hope that they'll get out of this.
So how's
Jefferson
the
seems
attempt to
seemed
restore power going?
Oh, there is none. Mostly because Emily is cutting through the doors to try to get to the EDA suits. And no one
Emily,
else. Yes.
go see. We're free of the cockpit. We found another way out.
Oh, so do you want me to stop cutting? I only need like 3 more minutes. I'm almost through.
Please stop.
Okay.
Are there handhelds to get around from where the back door to the windscreen?
There are, in fact, handrails all over the outside of the ship for maneuvering around, it appears like.
Or I'm going to head out and go pick up an EVA suit.
All right.
Wait, I can't
Jefferson.
get changed with no air.
But you've got a 6-hour tank that you can
You could
clip
attach
onto
it.
yours.
You
Yeah,
could
that's
attach a
true,
larger
that's
tank.
true.
Yeah. Yeah,
Alright,
using a
hold on to it.
secondary valve and a ball a switch, you're able to attach your tank. Is anyone else going to follow?
You know what? I'll follow. Someone's gonna get injured.
I mean, it's funny as you say that, Dietrich. Sorry. Yeah, so you say that, Dietrich. Jefferson goes, "All right, well, you heard the lady," and he just like takes a flying leap and just leaps toward the rear door. That boy, I have to show you this. You can't really see it. He rolled an 11
Jeez.
on the die. Thought you'd enjoy that.
You just got to inspire these people.
Yeah, you are
Great.
able
Now
to
everyone's gonna
attach
start
the air
jumping. Oh man.
There are, in fact, others who are running forward to do the same, following their closer peer leader, leaping. 15 minutes remaining, but for you, Ronnie, 6 hours.
So I don't know what's going on in there. You can't detach the equipment for the EVA suit that does allow you to fly and maneuver.
The maneuver packs on these EVA suits are attached. Yeah, doesn't seem like there's any external maneuver rigs.
Can I hold on to it and try and maneuver, like try and use it, but not with it on?
You can attempt to. You have to power on the suit, and you can certainly try. It would require an electronics check to sufficiently manipulate that. Yeah, electronics, or vac suit actually. Sorry, but it would be a very hard vac suit check.
How big is the suit? Can he fit the suit over his current suit?
Not without changing his helmet.
All right,
Bunk.
fine. All right, Riley, are you on your way?
I think so.
Oh, you're not there
Flying
yet.
through the black. No wind noise, thankfully. So Riley, make me a vac suit dexterity check.
Okay. Five.
Oh, Riley.
You're gonna die.
How high is your dexterity?
11.
There is a terrible, terrible sensation as your legs, you spin around just like you normally do, but you were going way faster than you realized. And as you go to stop yourself, your legs buckle and you realize with terrible knowledge exactly the mistake you made. As you fall unconscious, you hear a crack, glass, spider webbing, and everything goes dark. Riley does not respond after a hang on, I'm almost there.
I've heard that before.
Okay, Justin. Hopefully he's doing better.
So
I grab Jefferson.
okay.
He's on his way, isn't he?
He sure is.
He's flying. I grab an EVA suit and I take it with me back.
Okay. You have you drag an EVA suit along the outside of the hull.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Looking out the back there. Okay, how far is it to that other hatch? If we used everyone, can we human chain it all the way out there?
No.
Dang.
You can tell that would be not enough.
Okay, that was too simple.
That's all right. It was a good thought. Though, again, there does seem to be some kind of rail leading out into the black. A narrow thing.
Yep.
Maybe a cable.
Now, one person with the really good decks, they knocked themselves out. And I have shitty decks.
Well, that's all we've got. So we've got to go out there and do it.
Okay. Here we go.
Paul, you never in your life thought that this would be what you would be doing when you were invited to the prestigious Imperial Academy for Research and Intelligence.
Yep. I never thought this would be the end, but here we go. crawling on a cable like a monkey.
All right. Yeah, so it's not a terribly difficult check, but it is going to be athletics endurance.
Oh,
So
endurance is better. Endurance is
yeah.
better.
Because it is a slow, arduous affair.
All right, and
8.
we're bringing Emily with us.
All right.
8.
Fair enough. I'm gonna need you to make a roll there, Ronnie. Emily can make her roll.
5, 6, 6.
Okay.
6.
Dietrich.
All right. Wait, athletics?
It is athletics endurance in order to maintain grip on the line. Else you can do athletics dexterity to just try and fly.
Oh, this isn't good. 2.
Okay. First goes Paul, setting a steady pace, trying to just one hand in front
One
of the other. Okay.
Keep on. Don't look
We
up,
are
down.
going, dragging yourself, having to, something you never really thought about that is harder than you realized is stopping your momentum in
Yes.
this microgravity. Slowing yourself so that you don't lose grip. And next is Ronnie with practiced efforts. And then Dietrich, you grab hold of the line and you begin to do the same, but you try and go too fast. And you lose grip and you begin flying forward. And you kick and you flail trying to grab hold of it and you accidentally kick it away and you go spinning off away from the line. One of the students tries to reach out and grab you and likewise is pulled away from the line, spinning with only 10 minutes remaining on their oxygen.
We are all going to die.
There's not much you can do, Dietrich. You're floating freely and away, untethered, unbound.
Unrestrained. You're free.
What do you think is going through Dietrich's head right now?
This is what we get for opening doors.
That's really what's going through his head. All right. Dietrich's passing thoughts as you watch the timer on your oxygen tank count down. And Paul and Ronnie, you make it with about 10 other students who didn't jump. Distantly in the dimness, you think you see bodies, people maybe, spiraling away from the entrance that still remains unopened. There's 12 of you left.
We
Okay.
open them.
Open the door.
Well, do we look
You find
through? Is
yourself
there
in
a
an
port?
airlock. You find
Yeah.
yourself in an airlock. And for once, the blissful sound of compressors actually comes from outside your suit. And the air around you reaches a beautiful, proper pressure. And you're free to take off your helmet.
Is there a comm panel in here?
The door opens, and you find yourself in what appears to be a command center. It's quite large as the bridge of a capital ship. And out what appears to be some large windows, you see the planet Alendor looming before you, just beyond those large open windows.
Is there anyone in here?
No, surprisingly, though it appears some people left in a hurry. And you see strange, dark stains on the floor paneling, though the paneling is in fact is on the gravity paneling. You have gravity again.
Okay, where's the environmental controls? Get oxygen back to those people.
You're not sure. And as you pass into the as you pass forward into the command center, you see drifting outside of the ship in the orbit of Alendor bodies, dozens of bodies, and a strange ship. An object. Is it a ship? You're not sure. It almost looks alive. And it cruises blackening your view for a moment. And you wonder to yourself, is this all part of the plan? Was this the Empress doing? Is this who I've been serving, or is this something else? What has gone wrong? What is wrong? And that's where we'll end our game. I have to use the restroom badly. Be right back.
Man.
Ah.
That was really fun.
Sorry.
Riley versus doors.
Can't believe I made the roll to make it to the door.
I have really bad luck with atmosphere.
That was rough.
Well, if
Yeah.
we can still get, well, everyone else still has a chance to survive if we can get the air on.
Yeah.
At least there'll be more
Like-
red shirt. There'll be more red shirts.
Well, I thought if I got the EVA set, you got 10 minutes to find it while I go and round up the scragglers out floating around.
Ah, yeah. Because you can put it on the other suit now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there's two of us. Three of us will survive. The actress will survive too.
Yeah. That was
Jesus.
a good ending for Riley. I feel like going full speed at a wall.
Yep.
Full speed at the wall. Well then.
I'm sorry I couldn't get you all out.
No, that was phenomenal. I mean, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What did
I
you guys
did.
think?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So in epilogue, I'm sure that Paul and Ronnie likely survived, especially if Ronnie was still dragging that EVA suit, and you were able to save some. But this would be a memory that would would require debriefing and people in strange uniforms giving you exams and interviews and telling you can never speak of it again and making you sign forms and sending you to litigations.
Litigations.
Yeah.
Like NDAs and stuff.
Your life, your first time aboard the Academy, whenever that would occur following this, would be one filled with discomfort and the terrible knowledge that something is being hidden. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed our lovely game of Traveler, Quietus Decaying. I wrote the scenario, and I also wrote the setting in which it took place. I'd have a regular Traveler game that I run, Travelers of the Intomar Rift, every other Thursday. We do, in fact, have one more spot open. So if anyone's interested, you're more than welcome to join us. But that is not about VirtualHorror Con. So please do make sure, for anyone watching, for anyone here in the chat, if you haven't made a donation, definitely make a donation to the COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. Make sure to follow at Gehenna Gaming on Twitter. And where can we follow the rest of you?
I'm at Natalie20_20 spelled out on Twitter. And you can also please follow at Charm Person Game. We're Charm Person Games in Baltimore, professional game master service.
Okay.
I think
Anyone
I'm
else?
at Curtis Takahashi on Twitter, I think.
Okay. If you're not really into using Twitter, that's fine. Wherever we can find you is great. You can also find me at Kathakaros, Kathakaros. Probably too long in retrospect, but oh well, here we are today. So thank you again for joining us, and I hope you all have a lovely day.
Okay, thanks
Thank
a lot.
you.
Bye.